something we've actually been seeing a lot of studies come out showing that people who engage with generative AI a lot, their ability to think about things does just kind of atrophy. That is wild, by the way. Like, I'm okay with using large language models for things that they are good for, as long as you can use them ethically. Like, obviously, don't use them to write your essay. Don't use them to generate an image for you that an artist should be making, because art is a goddamn human expression that is largely unique to us. And we should keep it that way. That's a thing that we should continue to do. But, like, let's say that you're tagging a video on YouTube. Probably one of the best tools you have is just getting a large language model to tag the video. You're just doing manual data scraping at that point anyway. And honestly, that's not part of your fucking creative process. Tagging your video is a thing that was imposed on you by Google. That's not part of your creative process, I promise you.
Like, I just want people to understand that, like, you shouldn't even, like, talk to these chatbots.
No.
Like, there is now, like, an epidemic of, like, people who talk to these chatbots so long that they, like, become convinced that they themselves have become new gods, or that they awoke sentience within the AI. I watched a clip the other day on my show about with the founder of Uber, talking about how he gets up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and just spends hours talking with his chat GPT or
Why would
Grok.
you not talk with fucking people?
But because he likes talking with it so that he can, I don't know, go down and he says this, he talks about going down a rabbit hole with quantum physics, and like he like prods the edges of what is known about quantum physics, and he's almost made a few breakthroughs. And I cannot stress enough that the co-founder of Uber doesn't have any educational background in quantum physics and has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. And it's just like this stuff is like killing people on a fundamental level.
It's also,
and I don't think people realize it yet.
You mentioned the causing holes in the brain. That's something we've actually been seeing a lot of studies come out showing that people who engage with generative AI a lot, their ability to think about things does just kind of atrophy. I was talking about this with a friend of mine, a director for the game that I voiced in. And our conversation was about, like, what are the actual ethical uses of large language models? What things can be done? Because the right wing is capitalizing on this technology all the goddamn time, and they're using it to get edges in, again, the areas that are not part of our creative processes, search engine optimization, largely. They're using this technology to help them in those regards. What are the ethical ways that we can use the weapons of our enemy? And a point was given to me, which I largely agree with. AI makes people who are bad at something, good at something, very quickly, but then they never improve past that point. Whereas learning a skill makes somebody good at something very slowly, but then they can continue to get better and better and better and better and better and better at it. Far better than that large language model is ever going to be able to fucking be.
Honestly, I don't even know that it makes people good at anything really quickly. Like I don't see the utility in it. It's wrong so often. It's crazy. It like literally lies to you.
So as an example, let's say that you're learning coding and you use a large language model to produce code. And that code works. Say that it works. It doesn't always, but it works. You've now produced something faster than you would have before, in the 1 in 10 chance that it actually gets the code right. However, have you learned anything about commenting? Have you learned anything about making sure that your code is going to be able to function with other codes in a website or in any language that you're writing? You haven't learned any of that stuff. But you've gotten, quote, you've gotten good, you've produced a thing, a thing very quickly, but you've not learned a skill. You've not gained a skill. You've just managed to get a thing produced quickly. I think that's probably closer to what I would what I would mean. It makes you better at producing something faster, but you don't necessarily gain the skill to produce it. So somebody who has that skill is going to always be 12 bajillion times better than you. You're marginally better than you were before you started, but you're not actually better at a thing.
I mean, like, I think the issue is that you need to know enough to be able to check your work. And at a certain point, if you're getting something to code for you rather than just typing it yourself, you're just duplicating the effort. That's kind of my thing. Like, if you, like, for example, you have ChatGPT write an essay, you need to know enough about what you are supposed to be writing about so you can fact check that it doesn't just lie or add crazy shit in there. And
AI
it kind of
hallucinations is a real thing.
Yeah, and also, like, with coding, like, you need to know what the fuck you're doing if it's going to be at all useful to anyone, or if it's going to, like, lock into anything. You need to be able to, like, check that shit for being able to work. And it just, I don't think the burden of checking it is worth, like, the actual... I don't know, like, there's, like, an entire, like, blowback now of, like, companies having to rehire for positions they fired in order to replace with AI because the AI is just not reliable enough.
Well, again, that's the thing with, you can get one idiot to produce 10 programs using AI, and that's going to seem like they're doing really well, but it's a Warlock's Faustian bargain. You haven't, like, okay, you're familiar with RPG tropes.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Warlock versus the Wizard. How does a Warlock get his power? They ask a demon, they get some power in a deal, but that deal usually always comes at some great cost. How does a Wizard get its power? They study, they learn, they get all this kind of stuff. In the upper echelons of power in most RPGs, the Wizard can eventually get world-ending abilities, and the Warlock has to ask pretty please and then bend over backwards to maybe get a little, like, an ounce more power than he had at the beginning. Unless you're playing specifically an RPG game where there's a leveling system and therefore you have to gamify that bit. Generally speaking, the Warlock gets power very quickly and then it undoes them. The Wizard gets power very slowly, but they end up far more powerful than the Warlock could ask for. That's what the ChatGPT thing is to me. There's the Warlock that wants to do none of the work and get everything done very, very quickly. And they're using the large language models for that. And then there's the people who are willing to put in the work, willing to learn, willing to get a skill, and they're always going to be able to produce better and more over time.
But that is all dependent on the AI being able to actually create something that works. And for the vast majority of cases, like, it can't. Like, it can create something that might work in isolation, but, like, we're never really coding something just in isolation. It's always going to be, like, locked into other things. And, like, if you don't know what you're doing and need to, like, check it for errors all the time, like, you're better off just coding it from scratch.
You're gonna have to know enough about coding to begin with in order to do that.
Yeah.
No, and I can agree with that. I can agree with that. I think
it just seems like it, especially when you then start taking into account, like, these things, like, will make up shit about history or make up citations, and then you add that into...
Or they'll call themselves Mecha Hitler.
Yeah, and then you add that into, like, how they are, like, formulating, like, their code. Like, I feel like the issue compounds itself because, like, if an AI makes a mistake in writing an essay... Like,
and now that's the essay that the AI is going to be scraping in the future. You've now polluted what's actually available there. We've actually seen that as well from the generative image AIs. Have you noticed that when people have been generating images lately with AI, there's, like, this brown grain that is consistent in a lot of the generation, and it gets worse and worse over time because the AI keeps scraping the same fucking images over and over again. And because those images can be produced so quickly with generative AI, there's more of it in the wild for AI to scrape.
Yeah, just... that's why Warlocks blow up occasionally. I think, yeah.
The Warlock got a large language model to give them their power, and they exploded.
Yeah, and it's just like I think that there's I just don't see utility when there are people who have the skill sets to do this already. I just don't like if you need to constantly be looking over your shoulder to check that this thing isn't going to like completely fuck you. I don't think it's worth it.
I can understand that. I will say, outside of coding, which can have some use cases, there is one large use case for it that actually has been proven. Things like DNA sequencing. When we are trying to do like a repetitive task like that a billion times very quickly, like machine learning in general is a very wonderful tool for stuff like that. It is a technology.
Absolutely.
It's a technology that has use cases. The problem is not that the technology exists at all. The problem is that we live in a world right now where people like Elon Musk turn it into fucking AI girlfriends and try to treat it as a one-stop shop for everyone, for all of their information. The worst meme on the goddamn internet right now is Grok context.
What is that?
Wait, you don't... Oh, you've left Twitter,
wait. No. Is that them asking, like, Grok, what's the context for this?
For everything.
Yeah.
Never,
okay, yeah, I've
never
seen that.
asking real people, never having a conversation with a person. It's always Grok context?
Well, it's because, again,
Grok
these
context?
These AI chatbots are built to flatter fragile people's egos. And, like, that is a dangerous slope when you put someone with an ego that fragile in a room with something that is built only to flatter them. It's what leads them to having mental breakdowns or like leaving their actual flesh and blood families to like just fixate on this AI. Like it breaks people's brains. It's hard for us to not like impose human traits on something that is wielding language, but I think that I find it particularly insidious. I hate it so much.
I definitely wish we lived in a world that does not have it. I also feel like, as a tool, it is something that is being wielded by our enemies, and until we get to the point where that tool consistently implodes on them, as opposed to us just having a handful of instances where it does, like the Mike Lindell case, where briefs were written in AI, and that's not a thing you fucking do. Until that is happening all the time, finding ways to leverage the weapon of our enemies, I think, is still an okay thing to do.
Oh, yeah, I'm okay with it being used to, like, fuck up tip lines.
Oh, absolutely. Have your AI generate like 12 billion different things to report. Like, yeah. I think there's an illegal immigrant family over on Weston Chandler in Chattahoochee. Like, I don't know what that place is, but you're definitely reading it, wasting your time.
Like, I'm okay with it being weaponized against the people who want to use it to control and destroy us.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
That's where I'm okay with. Like, use it as a tool to undo the people who have tried to use it as a tool to undo us.
Yeah.
But that usually means we're going to have to find other... Like you mentioned, using it to flood tip lines, that means we're going to have to use it in ways that are very, very different from the ways that it was intended to be used by the people who built it. Honestly, trying to treat it as a fucking one-stop shop to all the information in the world is the absolute worst use case of all time. And yet that is the one that most people seem to gravitate towards more than anything.
Yep.
Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that. Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.